Good afternoon. At this time, we will begin our pre-application information session, request for applications, RFA, for fiscal years 2021 and 2022 Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention Title II Formula Grants. Next slide, please. Before we start the presentation, I would like to share with you the session overview. We'll begin with a welcome and introductions of our staff, along with some housekeeping items. We'll share the Youth Development Oregon's mission, vision, values, and a brief background of our agency. We'll also discuss the Title II Formula Grants purpose, the 3 program areas specific to this RFA information session, and the amounts of the grants being offered. From there, we will take a look at the review of applications process, the RFA timeline and application evaluation, and close the presentation with how to apply. Next slide, please. So welcome, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to introduce you to the members of our staff. Brian Detman is the Director of Youth Development Oregon. Anya Sakino is our Associate Director and leads the Prevention Justice Team. My name is Lawrence White. I am the Racial and Ethnic Disparities Coordinator. And today we have with us Abraham Magana, Melissa Gallardo, and Joyce Snyder, our Administrative Specialists. We also have with us today Joanne Edmondson. Joanne is from the Oregon Department of Education, and she is our Procurement Specialist for this RFA. Joanne is also the designated specific point of contact for this RFA. So again, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. At this time, I would like to allow our director, Brian Detman, an opportunity to share some words before we continue. Brian?
Good afternoon. And again, for the record, Brian Detman, Youth Development Division Director. Lawrence, appreciate the opportunity and appreciate the work that you and really all members of the Prevention and Justice team have been doing under Anya's leadership, just getting this RFA or request for applications moving forward. Just excited to be in the space. I'll be listening in, probably mostly off camera, just as we kind of go through this presentation. And mostly here to say thank you to those in attendance. We appreciate your spending time. I think we have about an hour. Appreciate the Oregon Department of Education and Joanne Edmondson being here as our single point of contact for this RFA. Appreciate some members of our council, our Youth Development Council also may be listening in. And I'm guessing perhaps some of the folks listening in are current or past grantees. So just appreciate your participation and just everyone who's here listening. This is an opportunity. Lawrence will get into the details, grant dollars and the number of awards that we will be seeking to make. So you'll hear about that later. Thanks for taking the time. And the opportunity here around supporting young people, in this case, those who are at risk of may have touched the juvenile system, is something that we take really seriously. And so appreciate your taking time out of your busy schedules to listen in. I think again, Lawrence will get into all the details. I think we'll just be taking questions in the chat. And then you'll hear more about how that will kind of roll out in the question and answer document to come. So thanks for the time. Thanks, Lawrence. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Brian. Slide 4, please. And now, on to a few housekeeping items. We ask that you please place all microphones on mute during the presentation. Please enter all questions or comments into the Zoom chat Questions will be addressed through the official question and answer document, which will be published and posted on the YDO website on or around July 1st, 2024. After the presentation, all questions must be sent to our single point of contact as instructed in the RFA, which is Joanne Edmondson. Also, this presentation will be recorded and posted on the YDO video channel through the YDO website. And lastly, any statements and responses made to questions in the chat are considered non-binding until published in the official question answer document. Next slide, please. Our mission here at YDO is to align systems and invest in communities to ensure equitable and effective services for youth ages 6 through 24. We support educational and career success. We disrupt youth crime and violence and affirm youth strength and safety. We value equitable access, equal opportunities, youth-centered approaches and results, inclusion and innovation. That mission is important to us. And our vision is also wrapped around the fact that all Oregon youth have the opportunity to thrive and achieve to their fullest potential. Next slide, please. So a brief background of Youth Development Oregon is we serve as the state designated agency for Title II formula grant funds. This was established with House Bill 3231 of the 2013 legislative session, where the Youth Development Division, YDD, was created and placed within the Oregon Department of Education under the direction of the Youth Development Council, the YDC. The primary goal of Title II formula grants are to support youth reduction in juvenile justice system involvement and find success through best practices that are evidence-based in an effort to improve the health and well-being of children and youth in our state. Next slide, please. So let's discuss Title II formula grant funds. These grant funds are provided by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, JJDP, an arm of the U.S. Department of Justice, to assist state and local efforts in preventing juvenile crime and reduce youth involvement with the juvenile justice system. We, YDO, are issuing this RFA to request applications in 3 program areas, which consist of community programs and services, with 2 awards, each valued at $150,000. The second program area is Alternatives to Detention, with 2 awards in this program area, each valued at $150,000. And the third program area consists of Delinquency Prevention, with 2 awards, each valued at $100,000. Next slide, please. Now we'll move into eligibility and scope of activities. So to be eligible for a grant under this RFA, applicants must be one of the following entities. They have to be a city or county government agency in Oregon, a federally recognized Indian tribe in Oregon, a faith-based and community organization, school districts, they are eligible. Educational service districts, ESDs, are eligible, and nonprofit agencies. Next slide, please. So the scope of activities consist of positive youth development, PYD principles, and a demonstration on how the applicant will ensure equity in service, and importantly, impact racial and ethnic disparities in their respective jurisdictions. This is a requirement of the federal JJDP, so we baked it into this RFA. There are quarterly report requirements consisting of data reports, narrative reports, and expenditure reports. Please note, payment is provided through reimbursement once all reporting requirements are met. Applicants will be required to collect performance measures data that is required by the Federal Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention for this Title II formula grant program and the areas and specific program areas as well. We are also requiring ongoing communication and collaboration with our grantees and our agency, as well as federal civil rights compliance. I would like to have at this time Anya speak a little bit more and elaborate further on some of the reporting requirements. Anya?
Thank you, Lawrence. Good afternoon, everyone. So my part is like the strict and dry, but also very important. And it's very timely too. We just finished a desk review with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. So we're sharing with you some better practices that we intend to implement in this funding cycle. So if you've had an award with Title II funds previously from us, there will be some slight changes to the reporting. So please pay attention. Now, this is not to discourage you from applying, but just to let you know that there are certain rules that come to us from the federal office, and we have to pass them on to any of the subgrantees who works with us. So the quarterly report, and it's not that big of, it's not that scary. I hope it's not. So the quarterly, if you want to be reimbursed, we try to schedule the reports on a quarterly basis. And if you are behind on your report, we will expect an explanation why it is so. So to get reimbursed, the most important thing, you have to provide service to use, right? And you have to document that in 3 reports. One will be expenditure reports. This is where you, in your budget, according to your approved budget, you will say how much money you spend in a certain area. You will sum it up, and that's the amount of money you will claim. So that's the claim that will go into the EGM system. You can place the claim, and we'll talk about how to request that reimbursement later in the presentation. But for now, just keep in mind, there are 3 things that need to be in place in order for you to get that claim processed. 1, you have to show what you spent. And not only that, you have to show how you spent it, which means that you would have to provide receipts. If you're spending money on personnel, then we will need to see personnel log or whatever form or shape your organization keeps track of that. If you purchase something, we will need to see copies of receipts and so forth, because that's what we have to show to the feds in turn for all of you. So just keep in mind that I would suggest you have really tight work relationship with your fiscal office. If your fiscal office is separate from you, like whatever it is, it's important. Now, narrative report is also provided, the format is provided by the feds. And it's really simple, but it's also super important. That's our way of communicating with you, that things are going well, or there are some areas that you need assistance, or there are some delays in progress because certain things happen. So this is a communication tool, very important. And data report is you would be required to collect certain data performance measures for certain areas, and I think Lawrence will talk about it later, or they will be listed on an RFA. So here's things that changed over the last few years. We are now required to collect information on positive outcomes from use. Again, if you've had our grants with federal monies before, the interest was mainly in crime reduction and recidivism reduction. Now they're interested to see what positive things are happening in the youth's life. So really important. Why I'm spending so much time on it? Not because I love to hear my voice, I hate my voice, but because it's really important. So before you apply, just keep that in mind. You'll need all receipts, you'll need to collect information, you need to write us a brief narrative of what's been happening. And with the outcomes, not only you need to collect them and report them to us, you need to show us how you collected them and be able to provide supportive documentation. So for instance, if an outcome chosen is improving school attachment for the group of youth you're serving, right? I believe it's one of those, right, Lawrence? Maybe not, but if there's a different one, still. So how do you know that out of the 25 kids you served, for one thing, we will need to know who are those 25 kids. You can take the names off. We don't need any personable identifiers, but we should be able to ask you who are those kids. And out of those 25, you'd say 5 improved school attainment. Well, how do you know that? Are you surveying youth? Are you getting feedback from school attendance? So you see what I'm saying? It needs to be, there's there's point of proof that comes with every one of those things. Not that we don't trust you, not that the federal government doesn't trust you. It needs to be a very accountable reporting system. There's all to it. So if you feel that it's something that you would be willing to submit yourself to, and you find ways how to either survey kids or establish a relationship with a school district, if that's what you're looking at, kind of keep it in mind when you apply. And it will be super helpful if you put it in your application, saying that we will collect these outcomes and this is how we will know that they're true. I think I'm done, Lawrence. I think I'm scaring people. Don't leave. And thank you for listening. Lawrence, back to you.
And thank you, Anya, for that very important information. Really, thank you. Next slide, please. So this is the current RFA schedule, and we ask that you please keep in mind that the table being presented represents a tentative schedule of events, and these dates listed are subject to change. We have the pre-application information session happening at this time, and the questions and requests for clarification is due June 24th, 2024. Answers to questions and requests for clarification will be posted tentatively on our website approximately July 1st, 2024. Closing applications will occur on July 22nd, 2024. And we anticipate an issuance of notice to intent to award approximately on August 30th, 2024. Next slide, please. So our evaluation items consist of 5 areas. The project youth population and service area is worth 25 points. The project services and activities is worth 25 points. The project's equity and access is worth 25 points. The project logic model is worth 20 points, and an upload will be required. And the project budget is worth 5 points, and an upload will also be required for this evaluation item. Next slide, please. So applicants from federally recognized tribes will be given priority points. These points will be calculated as follows. The application score times 1.1, which will make up their final score. So applicants from federally recognized tribes will be given priority points. The application score times 1.1, which will make up their final score. Next slide, please. So we've tried to simplify the ranking of applications. So ranking of applications will consist of the highest scored application that meets the RFA requirements. They will be awarded a grant. Next slide, please. So at this point in the presentation, we will discuss how to apply. I would like to turn the presentation over to Abe Magana at this time. Abe?
Thank you, Lawrence. So yeah, I'll be going over kind of what we use, or the platform we'll be using to apply for the RFA. Next slide, please. What we'll be using, we've used this in the past and with some other grants, but it's what we usually refer to as SM Apply, or sometimes we'll refer to it as SMA. But that's the platform or the online program, if you will, that will be used where applicants will be applying formally for the RFA. To access this platform, you can see the web link right there. That's also available on the website where you will be applying for this grant on what you see. There's a link below, but if you just go to our website at Oregon.gov Youth Development Division, and then you can navigate to what it is Prevention and Justice section, and down there there'll be a drop down that opens up, and there's a link specifically there, or in other words, kind of one of the selections that you can highlight is specifically for this grant, and on that page you'll find the same information as well. As well, though, on there's also an SMA FAQ, or frequently asked questions. So before you ask our point of contact, Joanne, you may want to look at that FAQ, because I think it answers a lot of the questions in regards to how to set up an account, or I don't remember if you've had an account in the past, maybe your account may still be there. How do I reset my password? Oh, wait. So there covers a lot of information there as well. It's really helpful. Next slide, please. So in the grant application, you'll notice that there's going to be 4 tasks per application after you've set up your account, right? One thing's setting up an account, and one thing's actually formally applying or going through the application process. It's all online, the application process, but the first task is really providing the information of the organization, as it says, their applicant information and certification, right? And an example of what we're asking for can be found on attachment B, which is also on the website, as previously mentioned. The second task is the application narrative, or what we often call kind of the application questions, the ones that you'll actually be answering, right? And there will also be examples of that. It's attachment H, but it's called sample application narrative. Task 3 is a budget sheet. So you'll provide us with a sample budget, and it's also an attachment that you'll be filling out. And task 4, this is where once you've completed, so there's a difference. I'm going to go a little bit with this one here, review, certify, and submit. When you've completed it, you'll have the opportunity to review your full grant application, the various tasks. And you might see something, oh, wait, I want to change something. I want to add that. And that's where your opportunity, you'll have that opportunity to do that, right? But keep in mind, just because you've completed and reached that section of task 4, review, certify, doesn't mean necessarily that you've actually submitted the grant application. You have to formally hit a green button that says submit. And once you've clicked that, then you've formally submitted it, right? If you have any questions about that, like I said, you can always reach out to Joanne, right? She's the single point of contact, and she can answer your questions around that if you're unsure, right? And please pay attention to the deadline and the dates on that. That's crucial. I recommend get it done early if you can before, and not wait until the last minute. Next slide. Final RFA tips. Read the section RFA 2.2. That's a list of the various definitions. And then also make sure you read the RFA body and all the attachments carefully. So make sure that you don't miss anything. And like I mentioned before, it's best if you try not to wait till the last minute, because when you're in a rush, sometimes things get missed. All right. So please plan accordingly. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Lawrence, and I think we're wrapping it up, I believe, right, Lawrence? I'm not sure. I'll let you explain, Lawrence.
Well, thank you, Abe, for that useful information. Next slide, please. And yes, we are wrapping this up. So this concludes our presentation. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful day.